Welcome to the Influencer Show with your host, Trishawn Ben Salmi.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Influencer Show, where I interview people who can help influence the way you live life in a number of different ways. I'm your host, C7, and today we have a very, very special guest for us. So if you'd like to introduce yourself to listeners and let them know a little bit about you.
Hi guys, I'm Catherine Stone. I'm generally known as Dr. Cat. So I have had quite an interesting journey. I started my first business at 26, where I became first doctor in Australasia, so out of Australia and New Zealand, to do a little procedure called Botox, which at that stage people hadn't heard about, but these days kind of it's everybody. Everybody kind of knows what it is and what it does. So I was kind of right at the beginning of that. But I went from pioneering an industry to almost losing everything to kind of building it all back again, to on the journey doing some cool stuff like going to Richard Branson's private island and having dinner with him. And it's been a really cool and interesting journey, delving deeper into what really helps people be successful both in business but also in life.
That's absolutely amazing. Thanks so much for sharing, and that is just super, super cool, and that's only the start. So why don't you share with the listeners why you do what you do?
So I guess for me it's all about I love helping people be the best that they can be. So when we do that physically with treatments like Botox and dermal fillers, and there's some other treatments we do that are quite innovative using the healing parts of your own blood. So it's kind of on that stem cells journey. And that physically changes the way that people look, and it also means that it often changes the way that they feel. But for 20 plus years, I've had an absolute fascination with personal growth and success and being the best that you can be. And also, success is not necessarily about always being positive 100% of the time and making lots of money and getting to go and do cool stuff. Success is also what you do in those times when it's not as easy, and how you pick yourself up and go to the next level. And I guess for me personally, this year has been a lot of that. My year started with a relationship breakup the day before I had a biopsy on my breast, and the breast biopsy showed breast cancer. So I've had a cancer journey. Plus I then had to close my business, which is still closed at the moment, for the COVID-19, and I've got 26 families who rely on that business. So it's been a real journey and a real opportunity to put those tools in place. And interestingly, I feel very calm and actually kind of quite chilled about it all. It's been stressful in places, but it's just working through what things can you do to get through the tough stuff. And I've done it a few times now, so hopefully we can share a few of those tools with you too.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely amazing. I can't wait. So first I'd like you to share with the listeners, what would you say was the biggest influence on you that you wish you had known sooner?
One of the big changes that I had for me was around vision boards. So this might be something that you guys innately do anyway. I got introduced to them maybe 15 years ago, where if you don't know what it is, I'm sure that your listeners know what a vision board is, but there's lots of different ways of doing them. I mean, the old ways I was doing it was just get a piece of paper and stick pictures and words and phrases of what I wanted to attract into my life on that board, and then just really focus on that every day. I've also had ones where you can have it flashing up in the background of your laptop. There's some pretty cool stuff that you can do with that. There's a program called Subliminal 360 that you can download, and it flashes up like little messages in the background of what you're working on your laptop. So that's called Subliminal 360. And then there was another thing that I did through the Mind Valley course is called Life Book, which looks at all like 12 areas of life, and you go deep into visioning what the 12 areas of your life you would like them to look and feel like. And then you put it all together and you've got like an online version template that you can adjust, but also like this beautiful leather bound book, and it's full of pictures and statements, but also a really clear pathway of how to achieve those sorts of things. And, you know, I think if I was your age and doing those things, which I know you guys are doing, wow, like what would life have been like? It would have been incredible. So I think that's a really special and important tool that I would have loved to have had my hands on earlier.
That's really, really interesting, because many people often, when I ask them this question, they say things like, I wish that I know that it'd be okay and things like that. But you actually selected the vision board and things like that actually dig deep into your soul, so that you then know your purpose, mission, and things like that. So it's really, really important.
Yeah, I think what the vision board does is it brings to the surface the things that it starts to really focus us on, as you say, the vision, mission and purpose, and it allows that to all kind of float to the surface in a really tangible way, rather than it just kind of being, oh, maybe I might do this at some stage. So yeah, it just brings that clarity to life. And when I was thinking about this question, it was like, oh, it's actually inspired me. I think I'm going to go away and use a little bit of time over the next couple of weeks. So, I mean, I've been doing business plans and all that sort of stuff, but the vision board just has this real inspiration to it, because it's a whole life experience, not just, say, business or relationship. It's what you want to experience in your life. So yeah, I'm inspired. You've inspired me to go do this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. And I highly advise that you listeners do the same and try and just set some time aside to create your very own vision board. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I guess that a lot of people have right now is time. Which in everyday busy life is often such a scarce commodity. It's like people don't have. You hear so many people are going, oh, I wish I could do that, but I don't have the time. Now it's like, oh wow, what an opportunity to really vision what we want the next stage to look like, and really being able to focus on what has changed with COVID that is really positive in our lives that we want to take forward.
Yeah, that's very true. I think that this time alone is just a huge time for you to get the things done that you've always said that you wanted to. And it also really reveals to you whether, let's say that you might have had that friend who's been nagging at you saying, oh, I want to get this done. This is really a time to see whether they would like to take them actionable steps in the right direction.
Totally, yeah. And, it's an opportunity for dreaming. Because everything starts with a dream. Yeah, everything starts with a dream, and then you've got to vision it up here before it comes into the reality, even if it's just a fleeting moment of a thought. And once that happens, then things start to fall into place a lot more easily, and you go, oh, cool, yeah, I'll do that. So getting really clear on what it is you want to call into your life. And using this opportunity for that.
Yeah, that's actually so powerful and so amazing. And I'd like you to share with the listeners, how do you prefer to influence others to change the way they live life for the better?
I really believe that knowledge is power. So by sharing information and sharing ideas, and I mean, the only reason I have some of the tools I have is because other people have been generous enough to share their knowledge, and I'm a bit of a geek, so I love anything personal growth and learning, so I just lap it up. And it's finding a way to share knowledge in a way that people can receive it, understanding that not everybody's ready to receive, but those who are will take whatever experience or knowledge that you're sharing, and then utilize it in their own way in their life and modify it and sometimes make it even better. So yeah, on my Instagram, I kind of, I'm just basically sharing my life and what I'm learning as I'm going along, in the hope that other people find that helpful somewhere along the way.
Oh, that's really amazing. It's actually really important how you spoke about how people need to not only take control of their life and select what they want to do, but also it's about learning how they can do it. And I think that's one of the hardest things when, let's say that you might have this course that you know can really change someone's life, but they're not open to actually taking those actionable steps. And it's actually one of the hardest things in business, really. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, absolutely. But when they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. But sometimes the teacher needs to prepare.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the student who wasn't ready will come in, and something will change, and it'll all click and head on as well. So, if what you teaching serves people in some way, then at some stage they will be in the right space to be able to receive it.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree with that. What would you say people should do to stay motivated during moments of crisis?
I think my big thing whenever there's crisis, or whenever any of my flatmate had a little crisis yesterday, my first thing was stop, take a breath. Because when you stop and take a breath, you flip from, so when you're in crisis mode, and we know this through years of research in the brain, but when we're in crisis mode, we flip into the fight, flight, or freeze. It actually closes our brain down. Like adrenaline and cortisol keeps us really focused on, okay, there's this thing in front of me, this tiger that's going to eat me, even though it might be a deadline, which I've got this afternoon, but even if it might be a deadline or something like that, and it's like, oh, and it gets really scary, that's all you can focus on. When you stop, take a big breath, right down into your tummy, and then take another big breath, and then take another big breath. What it does is it flips us from the fight or flight into the rest and digest part of our nervous system, where all of a sudden our brain starts to open up, and we start to get bigger perspectives, and we start to understand the bigger picture a little bit more, rather than the focus on this one crisis that's in front of us. And I think that often, I've used it often in my life. I mentioned I almost lost everything. It took me seven years to come fully out of that, but for 6-7 months I was hit with just one thing after another, after another, after another, after another, and really that was when I got really deep into changing my breathing patterns, meditation, healthy eating, really nurturing my body, and also daily gratitudes. So, in immediate crisis, it's take a breath. And if it's a longer term thing, it's like, hey, what can I be grateful for right now? And what can I, how can I turn this into an opportunity? How can I turn this challenge into an opportunity for something else? So, when I had my cancer news earlier this year, it was like, okay, wow. And I cried, and I was angry, and I did all of those things, and I allowed myself to feel those feelings. But then it was like, okay, well, what do I get to learn from this? How do I get to make this into an opportunity? Oh my God, I am going to use this to get as healthy as I possibly can. I'm going to use this to not just survive, I'm going to thrive through this. And I just had a meeting with my oncologist. I finished radiotherapy on Tuesday, and my oncologist called me and was like, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, yeah, really good. And we chatted about it, and she goes, you have done so well she's like, you're actually really incredible with how well you've done. And I'm like, yeah, I think a lot of that is just healthy eating and attitude. So it's making that decision of how can I turn this into something that's going to be really positive for me, and not being attached to the outcome of it. So yeah, just putting the things in place.
That is actually so very important and so very true. That how you are able to have those values of such as like resilience, just to push through and turn them adversities into your empowerment. It's just simply amazing, your story as a whole. Yeah.
Thank you. You know, everybody has a journey. And I've probably got nice green stuff all around my mouth now. Everybody has a journey. Everybody has really amazing parts in their lives and really challenging parts in their lives. And some people have way more challenging lives than I have, and I'm really conscious of that. When I was at the depth of my challenges, so I almost lost everything because of some property deals that my ex-fiance did. So when I was in the depth of dealing with that, I went and volunteered in Sri Lanka and did it's a charity called Habitat for Humanity, where you go and you build houses for communities who they've saved up and bought the land. So this community had been saving for 20 years to be able to buy the land. We built 20 houses for 20 families, and we would, you know, what would be a normal 2-bedroom house where we would have, you know, a mum, a dad, and maybe 1 or 2 kids, and they would have 15 people living in this little 2-bedroom house. And they were just so grateful for this very simple house. And it just really brought home how incredibly fortunate we are if we have a roof over our head, hot running water, you know, food on our table, health, the ability to see, the ability to walk. It, you know, it really nailed down for me how fortunate we are just for those basic things. So,
that is actually so true, because many of us, we take just things like health, happiness, and so many other things like that for granted, and that's one of the like key reasons why I personally have like my gratitude book, which I look at every morning, and it's just as a way to remind me that some people are not as fortunate to be where I am at this point in my life, really. Yeah.
You know, you're in a pretty amazing position. We were chatting about this before. Am I allowed to share how I first met you?
Yeah, that's fine.
So Trayshawn was 11 when we met in Bali at a course around personal growth, personal branding, and just this. You know, at first I didn't even really recognize that you were part of the group, because there's this very quiet 11-year-old, and then all of a sudden there'd be these incredible, profound insights that would come out, and it would be like, whoa, where did that come from? And it's been just really incredible watching your journey personally and the journey of your siblings and your mum. You guys are really an inspirational crowd, and so yeah, you have a lot to be grateful for.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that there are days when it doesn't feel like that. We all have them, but yeah, I'm really proud of you and proud of the things that you are achieving.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it really does mean a lot. So
well, the influence you guys are having in the world is really positive. So.
Thank you. We try our best. I'd like you to share with the listeners, what is your passion and end goals?
Ooh, my passion. So I love helping people. That's kind of my driver. It's probably why I got into medicine in the first instance, why I love what we do with our business, and where I got into the Dr. Cat brand probably 2-3 years, no, it must be 3 years ago. It was after we did that course in Bali, where I've, you know, it's very much a holistic point of view, looking at mindset and health and food. I'm passionate about food. So I've written a couple of books. Your listeners don't need the grow younger part, but there's actually a really amazing gluten-free, dairy-free, delicious recipes that are really easy to make in our recipe book, and I wrote it with our nutritionist. We've been making lots of yummy recipes. My favourite is the chocolate fudge. But it's been great. We've been making all the recipes out of the book during lockdown. You know, I think food is definitely a passion, and travelling and learning. So when you travel, you learn. I travel to learn. I am often over at, you know, most of my years I spent either at conferences or personal development courses, and you know, I take great joy of being able to then share what I've learned with other people when I get the opportunity, like today. So thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, and I really do appreciate your answers. They're absolutely amazing, and I hope that you listeners are then taking notes, and if you guys have missed anything, feel free to rewind it so that you guys do not miss out on these golden nuggets.
Oh, thanks, love.
Thank you. So let's say that you had a megaphone and you could say one thing to the world that would have a lasting influence. What would it be and why?
This is nothing related to my brand. This is just I think this is a general life thing. It's be kind. First of all, be kind to yourself. Eat well, sleep well, say nice things to yourself. Allow yourself to do the things that not be perfect. Have that piece of chocolate. You know, go for that bath. Do the things that really fill your soul. Then that allows you to be kind to others. When your cup is full, it's easy to then fill up other people's cups. And start to be, let's take this time, what we've learned from COVID is really start to be kind to our planet. We need to start looking after her more, because you know, we've seen what can happen just with a tiny little virus. What if this is just the start of other things, other messages where it's like, actually, no, just stop hurting me. So I think we need to really listen and start being kind. And I think if everybody in the world was kind, we would live in just such an incredible place. So that would be my megaphone moment. Be kind.
It's actually very like a simple and very short message that people often either misunderstand or overlook, because they hear the word be kind, they're like, oh yeah, here we go again, peace and love. But it's not about that. It's actually, there's so many ways to be kind to yourself, and it's not, we're not just saying, oh, it's because some people, when they hear the word be kind to yourself, they're thinking, oh, it's selfish, but actually it's a way to simply replenish yourself, because then you can then go on to help others tap into their own inner power.
Absolutely. You know, one of the sayings that really hit home for me, and I mean, I'm a big fan of sayings, so I know I overuse them, but one of the big sayings that really hit me, because I used to be someone who believed that I had to give my everything to everybody else, and I would end up being drained. And someone said to me one time, what are you doing? You know you can't pour from an empty cup. And it was like, oh my gosh, wow, that's so true. And by allowing, really refocusing on how do I be really kind and nurture myself. And I've really focused on that with this cancer journey as well, is allowing the emotions, but also really eating well, sleeping well, doing all the right things, educating myself, when asking for help, asking for support. That was a really big one.
Yeah.
You know, so many of us are either afraid or ashamed to ask for help when we need it. And that's one of the kindest things that sometimes we can do, because, you know, if you flip it around the other way and one of your friends asks for help, you'd be there in a heartbeat. And that was something that really blew me away earlier this year, when I just turned around and went, hey guys, I've just had this diagnosis and I would love some support. And I immediately had some friends who put together like a WhatsApp kitty cat support group, and it's just been, and it's made it into an incredible journey. When you have other people who walk beside you on a journey that's tough, it makes it so much easier.
Definitely. I 100%, yeah, I definitely agree with what you said there, really. It's just about having those friends who have your back and that you have theirs, because then you're able to pick each other up whenever you fall. And it's just really, I think that it really is a true test to show whether your friends are willing to do what you do for them. Because I think personally, it took me by surprise, because my mum, like, sometimes I bring friends home and she'll be like, no, this person, you need to leave them alone. And back then I didn't really understand it, so I was like, no, he's so nice and things like that. But when things did get rough, or things like, let's say example, that I needed help, sometimes they wouldn't be there, or they'd just be like, oh, I'm busy. But it was a huge awakening for me, because asking for help at those times actually shows you who you're surrounded by.
Yeah, and when you ask for help and friends step in, that actually builds those bonds, and you really start to develop a deeper friendship. It's something that I think, again, with the COVID side of things, people are really having that time and space and that shared experience to develop those deeper bonds with people. But when you actually give help, that also helps strengthen and deepen a bond. That's a shared experience that you have together. So yeah, pretty
Definitely.
special.
Yeah, very powerful indeed.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to those who may have had their very own £1 million idea at a time like this?
Oh, what advice would I give? So $1 million idea during a time like this would probably not be unusual, to be honest. I believe, I could be wrong, that Microsoft was opened in the middle of a depression. There's a wonderful book called The Upside of Down, which, if you guys are into reading books, talks about how most creativity and most innovation doesn't actually happen in the growth part of the cycle. It actually happens in the breakdown part of the cycle, when people are really pushed to be creative and innovative. So, you know, if you've got your $1 million idea, go out and just do it and try it. I mean, for me, I'll share my experience. So when I first I got into doing Botox purely through, I was at a dinner party. I had a friend who was like, babe, can you do my Botox for me? And I was like, what do you want to stick that in your face for? Because I'd used it, I was in hospitals, I was training in surgery, and we'd used it in cerebral palsy kids to help them walk. And to go from helping kids, little babies, like 2-year-old babies, walk, to sticking it in someone's face for wrinkles was kind of like an alien concept for me.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, babe, it's really good. I think you should look at it. And I was like, oh, you know, look, I'll do this research and maybe. So I did the research, realized it was really safe. Realized that you know, it had blown up in the States. It wasn't yet approved in the States, and had gone from being done in a few small clinics in Vancouver. Started in 1987 with Jean and Alice Carruthers. I had the privilege of training with them a couple of times. Was the most commonly performed cosmetic procedure in the United States with no advertising. And I went, oh, there might be something in this. And literally, when I first started, the guy that I was chatting with is a very smart businessman. He was like, you know, you should set it up and franchise it and put all the systems and then like sell it on. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. So I looked at it, and then it was like, I interviewed 4 different franchise consultants and was like, you know what? I don't think franchising's for me. It's just not my personality. I like being the best at something. I like being the first. I don't like being average. I don't kind of really like having to deal with, I'm not a manager, I'm a leader, I'm not a manager. And so instead went down the route of doing a very boutique style high-end clinic, which has turned into a multi-million-dollar business, and then gone down again with the properties, and then has actually accelerated even further with everything that I learned from when I lost almost everything. But you never know when that, I guess my message with that story, first of all, you never know when that $1 million idea is going to come across your doorstep. So just go with the flow. And the second thing is, if I had really held on to what Paulie had said about having the franchise business and not being flexible enough, but also understanding enough of what my strengths and weaknesses were, to go, actually, that doesn't sound right for me, but hey, what if I did it this way, and be flexible to twist and turn and use the initial momentum, but take a slightly different pathway. For me, that would be my advice to anybody who's got a $1 million idea. Go with the flow, give it a really good go, but be flexible, that understand that what your original idea might not be the final idea of how it turns out. So just follow where it takes you, and best of luck. It's a hell of a ride. There's good parts and bad parts, but there's challenging parts, but for me, I look back at the challenging parts and go, every single time I hit up against the challenge, it pushed me in a new direction that made me even better. So now I try to go, oh, okay, it's challenging. I wonder where it's taking me.
That is absolutely amazing. And yeah, it's actually so inspiring how you were able to look at every challenge that you face in your journey and think of it just as a way of life, preparing you for what's about to come and just preparing to send you flying forward, really. Yeah.
It's a beautiful way of expressing it.
Oh, thank you. So I'd like you to share with the listeners, what is the biggest issue or problem that you are aiming to solve as an influencer in your own industry?
Well, I guess it depends how you see me as an influencer. I have a few different hats with that. So I'm an educator for Botox and Juvederm. And so for me, when I'm training other people in our industry, first of all, I want to make sure that they're safe. And second, I have a real ethical issue with people making people look weird. I just, we have the opportunity in our industry to really create beautiful, positive change for people and help people love what they see when they look in the mirror. But so many people are just making people look weird, and like the whole duck lips and puffy cheeks, and but also, there are risks with some of these procedures that if you don't know and understand how to avoid them or how to manage them, can be quite serious. So for me, I'm very passionate about educating people on safe, natural looking results when I'm treating within the industry. So when I'm training within the industry. So I hope that that's my influence there. When I'm talking more to people in general, it's very much more about a holistic point of view. So, it's old information, but in new ways. So, eat well, eat lots of veggies, sleep well, stay hydrated, keep your brain active, stay physically fit. But, giving hints and tools and ideas on the ways that we can do that more easily these days. One of the nice things with lockdown has been, over here we're allowed to go for big walks so long as we stay local. So it's been really easy to stay fit and healthy over here during lockdown. It's been great. When your body and mind is healthy, you can cope with almost anything.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that people should just use this time as a way to re-energize and revamp their bodies, because I see Like there's so many people like they're running to shots buying like all this like vitamin D tablets and things like that. But it's like you said about how knowledge is wisdom and knowledge is power. And for example, like a couple of my friends, they've said that things like vitamin D tablets they take a couple of months to actually get absorbed into the system. So if you don't have that knowledge and if you don't have that network, you're then it's really actually pointless because you're not then able to understand how to treat your body properly, and you're not actually preparing, because there's an actual saying where it says if you fail to prepare, you're preparing to fail. So it's just about having them right things in place to make sure that you stay on top at all times.
Absolutely. If I can just give you guys a little few hints, it seems we're talking vitamin D and supplements. Especially with your colour skin, I hope that you are taking some vitamin D, but the sublingual sprays or drops are probably better for you guys. And getting out in the sun, because the sun is how our body converts vitamin D into the active form of vitamin D in our bodies, which helps with mood, bone strength. Mood is a big thing, especially around, you guys are coming into spring, we're heading into winter. But you're coming out of winter at the moment, so your vitamin D levels will be a little bit lower. Other supplements that we believe are helpful, and I'm sure you've covered this somewhere else, but I'm part of a global group of doctor trainers who work at the highest levels in our industry, and we've been doing, gosh, there's been 200 or 300 messages a day sometimes on our WhatsApp group, just comparing notes and research and everything else. But generally what most of us are doing is vitamin C, vitamin D, glutathione or NAC, or both. Olive leaf extract, quite a few of us are doing. I haven't been able to take a lot of that because of the radiotherapy. And zinc. Zinc seems to be something that stops the virus from being able to bind and replicate. So upping your zinc levels with the zinc supplementation. So those are the things that we've found some, I mean, it's still early days. There's still a lot of misinformation out there, which I'm really conscious about, but that's pretty much what most of us in the group are taking as our little supplement spread. And that includes some of my friends who are working in the ICU over in the NHS with you guys. So they're doing everything they can to keep themselves and their families healthy.
Thank you so much for sharing, and I hope that you listeners can then use that information to not only bulletproof yourself, but then also just stay on top regardless of when this ends, because it's not just about staying on top during moments of crisis, but it's also just staying on top regardless, because then if you're on top, you don't have to worry whether when the next crisis is going to be and things like that. You just know that no matter what happens, you're at a state where you are content knowing that you are simply at the top of your health.
Yeah, I mean, this COVID is, we were chatting beforehand and I mentioned that I've had several of my friends who are doctors who have been affected with COVID, and it's definitely, you know, I know you guys have had a lot more rife over in the a lot more rife over in the UK than what we have here. And my friends who have had it have all been in the UK. But they've said that they felt like they were going to die. And so please, please, please take it seriously. It's you know, it's not something to be trifled with, but I do believe if we do, you know, New Zealand's been a great example of that. We went into lockdown early. We've had less than 20 deaths. They've all been over the age of 60. So by taking the right precautions, staying at home, doing your hand washing, really, really focusing on not letting it spread, you know, we've shown that it can be beaten. So.
Definitely, and I highly advise that you guys do just take your health seriously as a whole. Yeah. So I'd like to ask you, what would you say was that pivotal point along your journey, and what did it teach you?
In terms of looking at what has changed me the most, would have been almost losing everything. that's where I had my biggest lesson. So at the time I was on top of the world. So I was engaged, I was in my dream apartment, I was on a TV show that went to 44 different countries. We were having people flying in and flying out from all around the world for treatments. My fiance we'd bought 23 properties in 24 months, and from the outside it looked like everything was going amazing. And then one day I came home and I was just looking through the home office for something inane, like I think it was sellotape to wrap a present, and I came across 9 months worth of unopened bills from the properties. And that was my first inkling that the things for the properties weren't going the way that they should be. And then over the next 6 months, I found out that the properties were what they call upside down. So they were, not only were they not making money, they were losing money. And I had to start topping up from my business. And then when I was just about out of money, I had to find $100,000 in 6 weeks to settle on a off the plans property that we'd purchased 2 years prior. We had to move out of our apartment. I found out that my partner had a gambling problem. I literally just got hit with one thing after another over the space of 7 months. And then we split up, and I decided to take over all the property stuff just because if I didn't, he had no money, they were going to come after me anyway. But I learned so much, first of all, it was very humbling. I was probably a little bit, I think I'm a nicer person for having that experience. Second, it showed me, as I shared, how fortunate despite all of that, at the end of the day, it was only money. It gave me lots of great tools like cash flow management, which we're using now. Resilience, the daily gratitudes, the meditation, the really focusing on nurturing yourself. That period of time, while I never want to go back there, was one of the hardest periods of my life. Is still the thing that I've learnt the most from, and is where we're able to where I really feel like, not just personally, but our business, we're putting things in place over this time of being in lockdown. We've just launched, we're the first in New Zealand to be doing 3D virtual simulations from three selfies taken from your cell phones via virtual consults. And that's something that we set up because of COVID, and so we're doing like awesome, new, amazing virtual consults. We've got a whole lot of new and innovative things that we're going to go back into. Like, we're totally going to go back when we reopen as a bigger, brighter, shinier clinic than when we close. And I think if I hadn't been through that experience 10, 12 years ago, then I don't know if we would have coped as well with this experience now. So yeah, great. It was tough, but I'm grateful for it, and I learned a lot.
That's actually amazing, because like how you were able to then take those life lessons and then apply it to all areas of your life, and it's absolutely amazing, just your story as a whole, really. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, there's lots of really amazing stories out there, and I'm really glad that you are giving people the opportunity to share them.
Oh, thank you. So I'd like you to share with the listeners, what are the top 3 lessons that you've learned along your journey, and how did they influence the way you look at life?
I think we've kind of covered them, really. We've kind of talked about them, and they've kind of woven their way through as we've been chatting. So the first one is really, when you hit up a challenge, where's the opportunity? Challenges are really just, if we can change our mindset to, oh wow, that feels hard. Where is the opportunity in this? It's just an opportunity to grow or to change or to be pushed in a different direction. Go with the flow. Kind of feel it actually kind of it fits in with that. It's if you go with the flow and follow your instincts, when you're being hit up with one wall after another. So I left surgery when I started just getting like these. I loved surgery, but I had like just a few experiences happen where it was like, oh, that feels like ick, and then oh,
yeah,
I don't want that responsibility, and oh, those hours, working 100-hour weeks on a regular basis. And just had a few experiences where I was like, actually, wow, someone else stuffed up, and that because I'm the doctor and they're under my care, that could come back on me, and I don't want to be responsible for someone. Fortunately, it wasn't. It was something that was able to be corrected, but I was like, wow, that was someone else's mistake that I'd be responsible for, and I don't want to be responsible for that. And with surgery, I started losing my caring of people. I started getting a little bit hard, and I had a couple of my friends who pointed it out. So I had these little nudges and messages pushing me out of surgery, and then all of a sudden this opportunity with Botox came just from left field, and I started getting more and more nudges going, oh, go this way, go this way, go this way, go this way. And so I just went with the flow, and I'm so glad I did. It's taken me on the most incredibly rewarding journey. So yeah, follow your instincts, go with the flow. And the final one is, and we have talked about it, look after yourself. Look after yourself, look after the people you love, and look after the people you serve. So for me, the people I serve are my team, and our and the people that we serve as a team, which are our customers and patients. And when you do that, what you put out comes back tenfold. So when you look after yourself, the people you love, and the people you serve, it's not always going to be easy, but I can pretty much guarantee you will have a good life.
Definitely. I think that another one that keeps on coming up from you is resilience, and just being open-minded, because some people, when they hear the word resilience, they think of it as laser beam focus and just going after what you want, and this is how it's going to be done. But with you, how you were saying about, it's actually the complete opposite, and it's about getting clear on your goal and mission, and then being open and being able to adapt to how you need to go about doing so.
Yeah, so it's sway like the bamboo.
Yeah.
Sway like the bamboo, because that's what resilience is. I mean, if you look at a solid wood post and someone bangs into it, it's going to break, or it's going to break whatever's banging into it. But when you're flexible and sway like the bamboo, like you bounce back. So, and that's your resilience.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. That's a great analogy.
It's actually a qigong. It's actually a qigong move at the end of qigong. That's another thing. If you guys really want to increase your energy levels over this period, but do something that's really beautiful and gentle, qigong. I have a favorite qigong YouTuber. It's Yo Chi, YOQI, Marissa. Like 15-20-minute qigongs, and I've been doing it pretty much every day. It's helped me with, I've had a couple of side effects with my breast cancer surgery, and my arm really helped me with that. But it just gets the energy flowing all through your body, and it's such a beautiful practice. And the bamboo swaying in the wind is kind of like the final thing. What we do in one thing in life goes into everything we do in life. So I go for a walk and then do qigong most mornings, and I find it a really beautiful way to start the day.
Oh, that's absolutely amazing. Yeah, I should give that a try sometime. Yeah, that sounds amazing.
It's nice and quick as well, so you can squeeze it into a busy schedule.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. If you had to be another person for one day, who would it be and why?
Richard Branson, just because he has the coolest life and he's an amazing kite surfer. I've just started learning to kite surf. And I would love to be him for a day and then be able to take, I would do it so long as I can take all of the knowledge in his brain and bring it back with me.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing.
And ideally all his contacts as well, because that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I totally understand you've chosen him.
That would be for me. But if it was me for the world, I don't know. Maybe I would try to be. Oh no, I'm going to get political on this. Maybe I won't. I'll leave it at Richard Branson.
Yeah. So yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I totally understand why Richard Branson. Yeah, that's amazing. I'd like to ask you, what are your views on the word legacy, and what legacy would you like to leave?
For me, legacy is the impact that you leave behind. So when you're gone, what impact is it that you leave behind? And that might only be for one generation. Like some people don't leave any legacy. Some people might leave it for one generation, some for a couple of generations. Some people go down in history, sometimes for good things, sometimes for bad things. And, legacy, we've got like the Hitlers of the world who have left a legacy, but what type of legacy would you want to leave that legacy? Then we have incredible people like Buddha and Yesu and who've left legacies that have sparked religions. I'm not aspiring to that level. The legacy that I would like to leave is, first of all, and I thought about this, when you have something like cancer pop into your world, it's like, oh gosh, what do I want to leave behind? So the legacy I want to leave behind is the people that I've touched, I want their worlds to be better. So in some way. So, and we actually have that written as part of our mission statement for work, is that every person touched by our business will be, by the face place, will be inspired to be the best they can be. And if I can do that for people, it might only be one generation, but that ripples of it will hopefully go for many generations and many other people to come. So all I need to do is influence 1, 2, 3, 5 people who then influence others.
That's very powerful and really interesting, because when I've asked several other people that very question, they often say things like monetary or things like that, but it's actually about having that influence that is long lasting, because many people, they might not remember what you say, they might not remember your name or who you are, what you look like, but they remember how you made them feel and what you gave them to pass on, and that's really, really important.
One of the things that I do on a daily basis, and I swear it helps me more than it helps anything else, is whenever I'm on my morning walk, I smile at strangers, because you never know the impact that might have in someone's day that then completely changes their world and the world of everybody else around them. And that whole butterfly effect of like a butterfly flapping its wings, causing a tsunami in South Africa. You never know the small things you do in the day that will have a big influence. So really focus on the small things and do them well and do them with love and be kind. And every little bit counts. Every little bit counts. And the more people that we get doing this, the bigger the wave will be that will develop.
Definitely, that's actually so very important, because not many people think about like the little things, such as like saying thank you, how are you, can actually brighten someone's day. Like, he does care about me and things like that. It's absolutely so, like, it has a huge impact on levels that people just sometimes even fail to understand.
Absolutely, like everybody just wants to be loved and heard. So being able to share that is such a gift. And being able to, and this is something that you are doing, is you are helping people be heard and share their stories and share their gifts. I really encourage, when when we do listen to people, to listen with our whole focus. It's a skill I think is being lost because of this sort of stuff, which is amazing when it's used well.
Yeah.
But being able to listen with full focus and really, you know, there's something that happens in our brain. There's mirror neurons that click in when we actually are engaged with someone, that they don't click when you're distracted. So, you know, if it's not something that you do normally, then maybe just try it. Just try really listening with your everything when you are in a conversation with someone, and see the difference that it makes with the connection and the engagement that then happens.
That is very, very true. And I really do urge you listeners to just give it a try. Like, sit down for an hour and have a conversation without looking at your phone. As hard as it may sound, it's actually really powerful, and it really does awaken you to what matters in your life. And it actually does show that you care about that person, and it just does wonders. It's simply amazing. Yeah. And
yeah, it really does build a deeper level of relationship with people as well, because and it's, they've actually shown it's a thing that flicks in our brain, that helps build that engagement with the mirror neurons. And you're saying with the hour, and I have to admit I have been not very good at this recently, but that hour of power when you first wake up in the morning, for a while I was good at not picking this up, but that first hour when you wake up is when our brain is at our most receptive. So being able to use that for meditation, learning, exercise, using that time as our nurture time, even if it's just lying in bed for 15 minutes listening to something that you, either meditating or listening to something that you really want to learn or take on. I know everybody's busy these days, but it's amazing what you can do in 5 or 15 minutes. 5-minute meditations every day is just as effective as meditating for an hour once a week. So, so use that first hour when you wake up, or wake up half an hour earlier and utilize it.
That is absolutely amazing. It's just about having them simple things that are consistent, because then in a way you actually look forward to them. Because like when I started, I think like personally, like I used to like push-ups every morning, and when I first started I could barely do any. It was ridiculous. But after having that consistency, I've like managed to put up a number of things such as discipline, strength, and I actually look forward to every morning. And just waking up, let's say that you may wake up at 6 o'clock every morning to go for a run, it actually urges you to then get things done in your day, because there's no excuses, and it just simply just motivates you, and it puts you in a better mood.
There's an incredible speech by an army general, I can't remember his name, and he talks about, if you can Google it and YouTube it, and he talks about the first thing you should do in the morning is get up and make your bed. Because when you get up and you make your bed, you have had your first success of the day. And then he talks about all this other stuff, and he's like, and then no matter what your day was like, if you had a really horrible day and nothing went right, you get to the end of your day and you saw that you had a success in your day. And it's those regular disciplines. Get up, make your bed, meditate in bed if you want to, but get up, make your bed, meditate, exercise, eat something healthy. Wow, you have just had 5 successes in your day already.
Yeah, that's really important and great words of advice. I'd like to ask you to share with the listeners, let's say that there's any advice that you would give to your younger self.
I think I'm not in the younger generation these days, so I'm not sure what it's like for you guys. I know for me, when I was in my teens and 20s, I cared a lot about what people thought, and sometimes to the detriment of what I felt was the right thing to do. So the advice I would give to my younger self would be care less about what people think and follow your heart, follow your intuition, do the right things.
Mm. And I think that's really, really important how you said about do the right things and having that integrity, because many people are like, oh, I'll do it only because they're looking, but it's actually what you do behind closed doors that matters the most. Because there's been times where you've seen like all the motivational people saying, oh, do this, but then behind closed doors they're actually doing the opposite. And not
Yeah.
only does it break down that trust and respect that you have for them, but it also has an effect on you, because let's say that you've learned something from them that you believe might have been absolutely amazing. It absolutely just like knocks it out the door, and it just like breaks down that slowly by slowly, because then you're thinking, let's say that they've taught me all of this but they can't do it, how is that going to then work for me?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Walk your path, walk your talk, say what you do what you say. And, you know, people sometimes don't like it when you say what you do and do what you, well, people don't like it when you say what you do or give honesty, but they will respect it when you do what you say.
And that's actually really, really important just in life as a whole, because like in this day and age everyone's used to like this whole instant thing because of like the social media, just everything as a whole, like how technology is evolving. Everyone's like likes, how many views and things like that, but it's actually about being content with yourself, knowing that you are enough, you're powerful just the way you are. And that way then, let's say that you might be wanting to achieve a set amount by the end of the year as to how much you'd like to earn. By staying true to yourself, the money then follows you instead of you having to go and chase that money.
Yeah. You know, I'm a big believer in what goes around comes around. What you put out comes back to you in one way or another. So whenever there is anybody who's ever done stuff, and you know, it always happens. Bad stuff happens to nice people. Just because you're a nice person doesn't mean bad stuff won't happen. But I just sit there and go, you know what? It'll come around, and almost invariably it has. And it's usually the punishment is that they receive is nothing that I've done, but it's just come around and about, and perfectly fits whatever they've done as the wake up call. And so, yeah, I'm a big believer that the universe balances everything out.
That's fair.
That allows us to just focus on doing the things that we do well and focus on our path and how we can serve best.
Definitely. And I'd like to, lastly, I'd like to ask you, where can people find you if they'd like to find out about any upcoming things you may have?
So because I've had my recent health journey, which I'm coming out of and doing really, really well, but I'm not really doing a lot right now. But if you would like to just find out more or just follow the journey, my Instagram is Dr. Catstone, so DrCatFtone. And love to see you on Instagram, like maybe flick me a little message and say that you saw me with Trayshawn on the Influencer Show, and yeah, love to have a chat. I'm always pretty approachable. So.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, and I hope that you guys do go and follow Dr. Cat. It's absolutely amazing. And I'd like to thank you for coming on the Influencer Show today.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me. I hope it was helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd lastly like to thank you, listeners, for listening in. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed it with the amazing Dr. Cat today. And if you guys would like to have the chance to be interviewed on the Influencer Show, be sure to email. The email is going to be popping up on the screen, and you too could have the chance. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. And that's it from me. Bye.